Hi, I'm Bonz Magsambol, Senate reporter of Rappler. For today's episode of Rappler Recap, we'll give you the highlights of the passage of the Senate version of the Maharlika Bill that happened earlier today at 2:32 a.m. So joining us today is Rappler's business reporter, Lance Spencer Yu, who has been covering the developments on the Maharlika Bill. Hello, Lance.
Hi. Okay, so
So, sige, let's get started, no? So, my
Okay.
first question, what is Maharlika Bill?
yeah. Medyo complicated yung history ng Maharlika Bill, right? It's very confusing in the final product, yung final version niya. Kasi all throughout, yung from the House to the Senate, it's been called a sovereign wealth fund, tapos minsan naman development fund or investment fund. But if you look at yung parang pinaka bottom line, the objective of yung MIF, yung Maharlika Investment Fund, is to promote socio-economic development. That's straight from yung bill mismo. So in short, when you look at yung MIF, para siyang investment fund, just like what you see in banks or other financial institutions. But this time, it's owned by a state company.
Okay.
Ayun. So yun yung pinaka-difference. Oh, and also one last thing. Another interesting thing, if you look at yung bagong version, it says there that all allowable investments must be in accordance with the principle of sustainability. So parang may element siyang sustainable development fund.
So, ano ba yung main goal nitong Maharlika Bill? Bakit to, in the first place,
Yeah.
pinropose ng ating mga lawmakers dito?
So ayun, they view it as another way to generate more income. So the questionable part though is that parang yeah, sure, it's a nice idea, but where will you get the funds from, right? Because to make that money, you have to get like seed capital first. So yun yung pinaka-contentious na part. Yeah, pero ayun, one of the things that I've looked at it throughout is parang nag-evolve nga siya throughout from the House to the Senate. So I don't know, maybe you can provide more insight on how it developed naman in the House.
So yeah, so I've been covering the Senate nga for Rappler, no? So what I've noticed actually, the bill, sobrang bilis actually. Sobrang bilis ng developments dito sa Senate compared sa House. Though of course, the bill was filed kasi January 2. So earlier this year, pagkatapos nung Christmas and New Year's break, final to of course ni Senator Mark Villar. And yung House version kasi, pinasa na siya December pa lang. So nakita talaga natin na priority legislation talaga to ng Marcos administration. So actually kami inside the Senate, kami mga reporters covering the House, nagulat kami kasi usually tahimik lang talaga si Senator Mark Villar. And then nung lumabas siya dito, may pasabog siya dito na ipapakilala niya pala to or ipapasa niya pala tong, ipa-file niya pala tong Maharlika Bill. So mabilis yung pangyayari. And then just a week ago, actually, May 22, President Ferdinand Marcos certified this bill as urgent. So, kasi since final to ni Senator Villar nung January 2, up until May 22, wala ganong developments. Like, snail pace talaga yung movement nito. Like, nagkaroon, of course, ng committee hearings and you covered that, di ba? For sure. Pero kung mapapansin nyo, wala kasing numbers sa Senado eh. Like, yung sobrang supporter lang nito, of course, is si Mark Villar, Sani Angara, and then yung other senators, hindi sila ganon ka-push dito kasi nga sinasabi nila na marami naman tayong urgent concern na kailangang pagtuunan ng pansin. So yun nga, when President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. certified this as urgent to May 22, just like a week ago lang yan, ang bilis na.
Yeah.
So nakita natin na nag-start na yung period of interpellation. Last week actually, nung nag-start yung period of interpellation, hindi naman din siya thorough yung discussion, right? Kung mapapansin mo, sometimes sa mga session, 10 minutes lang yung inaalat nila dito para i-discuss yung bill na to. And then, this Monday nga, kasi crucial tong week na to kasi mag-a-adjourn yung Congress. Before, mag-a-adjourn sila for almost, siguro mahigit sa isang buwan na break. So babalik sila after the yung SONA mismo ni President Marcos. So crucial to kasi kailangan maipasa na nila yung mga legislation, priority legislation ng Marcos administration. Yes, ito lang yung window nila talaga to do it, which of course includes itong Maharlika Bill. So nitong Monday, what date is Monday? May 28, right? May 28 yung May 29.
Yes,
Yeah,
29.
May 29 yung Monday. Nag-start ng mag-interpolate, of course, itong minority. So, yung minority kasi sa Senate, for background, dalawa lang sila. It's composed of Senator Coco Pimentel and Senator Risa Ontiveros. So silang dalawa, as in, kinuha nila lahat ng opportunity para itanong talaga or gisahin kung ano ba, bakit natin kailangan nitong Maharlika Bill. And then kung matatandaan mo nga, yung Monday na yon na session, natapos na siya 1 a.m. the
Yeah.
following day. So that was Tuesday. So makikita talaga natin yun, talagang minamadali na nila. Kasi nga meron silang time lang, ito lang week na to, yung kailangan nila para maipasa ito. And then, for context na lang din, sa Senate kasi, and even sa House, usually yung session or kung saan nila dinideliberate itong mga filed na bills na to, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday lang sila may session. So, di ba, Wednesday ngayon, saktong-sakto. And then, yun nga, kahapon, kaninang umaga, so we stayed super late,
Yeah.
almost 11 hours yung nangyaring session or pagdideliberate dito, and pinasa na nga nila. Pinasa na nila itong batas na ito. So, of course, kung mapapansin din natin or ng mga viewers natin, Mark Villar was always on trip with President Marcos. Kasama siya, of course, sa World Economic Forum ni President Marcos, kung saan sinoff launch nila itong Maharlika Bill. So, ayun nga, ayun yung sa side ng Senate. And of course, ikaw nga, like what I mentioned earlier, you've been following these developments dito sa Maharlika Bill. So, Lance, siguro bigyan mo kami ngayon ng idea, ano ba itong mga controversies surrounding this bill?
Sige. So, yung pinakamalaking controversy, like yung the heart of the issue talaga sa Maharlika is that they will use yung pension funds, yung mga pension money as yung seed capital. If you look at yung all the way back sa Senate, sa House bill, yung GSIS and SSS, I forgot the exact amount, pero they will contribute the most. Parang they will contribute a very large sum to the startup fund of Maharlika. And then, of course, when they were deliberating that in the House, yun nga, parang nagkaroon ng issues, widespread protests, and eventually, parang because of that backlash, they backed down. They took it out. Now naman, when it went to the Senate, parang same issues, they're very cautious about it, but yung wording was that they will not be allowed, they will not be required to contribute. Pero that doesn't mean that they can't contribute if they want to voluntarily contribute. Ngayon naman, when they were doing it when they were finalizing this bill, they revised that again. They made it, ito yung phrasing nila, to absolutely prohibit SSS, GSIS, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, OWA, and also yung sa veterans na pension funds. So, whether that's voluntary or mandatory. So, talagang, in short, totally eliminated. No more contributions coming from them. And then, that's not the only changes. So, throughout yung deliberations, there's also been controversies regarding yung BSP naman, because BSP will also be contributing their dividends and iba pa. So, that was another point of contention. Si Senator Gatchalian, actually, he proposed an amendment, diba? Na parang to completely eliminate naman yung BSP's contributions. Kaso si Villar, Senator Mark Villar, didn't agree. So, ayun. The end result was that for the first 2 years of yung establishment ng Maharlika, 100% of BSP's dividends will be remitted. Tapos yun na yun. Unlike the previous proposal. So there's still a bit of adjustment. Tapos also for yung land bank, DBP, there's also a cap to how much they can give. So parang it can't be more than 25% of yung net worth. But of course, 25% ng net worth, parang laki naman yun. Yeah, they'll...
1/4.
Oh nga, that's 1/4. I don't think naman it's a good idea to put talaga 1/4 of your worth there. And then parang I think the last major adjustment to cap that is that if they want to increase yung capitalization ng Maharlika, if they want to make it bigger, they have to go through Congress again. So that's another big thing. Ayun. So,
siguro let's curious lang din siguro ako, and at the same time yung mga viewers natin na nanonood ngayon. 'Di ba kinumpara ito, of course, dun sa mga sovereign wealth funds in other countries. Like for example, siguro yung sa Malaysia, yung naging point of comparison natin since neighbor natin siya, yung 1MDP. And then ano ba yung kinakatakutan na pwedeng mangyari dito?
So yung sa 1MDB kasi, parang what happened there was a lot of the money that was placed in there, it was it was subject to fraud. Parang nawala siya. It was pocketed by government officials, pati yung like the partner banks that the governments are dealing with. So that's in the multi-billion dollars.
Okay.
Ang dami talagang I don't know where exactly kasi a lot of the investigation around that is still ongoing.
Yeah.
Pero ayun, it's very controversial. And a lot of people fear that the same thing will happen here kahit may safeguards daw. Although one of the differences is that yung 1MDB kasi, it can issue bonds. It can issue bonds. Tapos those bonds are guaranteed by the government. So kung mag-fail naman yung 1MDB, it's the government who will parang salo that. Here, so far, Mark Villar has said that even if you issue bonds, it's only Maharlika Investment Corporation that will be accountable for that. Yung government will not be backing it. So yun yung difference. Safeguard.
Okay, sige. Siguro ang next naman na ikikwento ko sa ating mga viewers ngayon is yung last-ditch effort or ito yung effort of course ng minority para i-block itong pagpasa dito sa batas na to sa Senate. So yun nga, on Monday, like what I said earlier, it took them until 1 a.m. para mag-interpolate. And actually, Senate Minority Leader Coco Pimentel that time was asking the body to extend itong ating interpellation nila the next day. Kasi parang sabi nila, marami pa daw silang kailangan pag-usapan dito. Pero at the same, it was overturned. So, hindi siya pinayagan. And of course, sinabi ni sponsor Mark Villar, sinabi niya dito na he moved na dapat i-close na natin yung interpellation kasi daw paulit-ulit lang daw yung tanong ng minority, which was of course, hindi nag-agree yung dalawa nating miyembro ng minority kasi legitimate questions naman daw yung nire-raise nila. Pero of course, sa Senate kasi it's a numbers game. Kung wala ka talagang kaalyado or wala kang supporters, malaki yung possibility na hindi talaga move forward yung motion mo. So that time, of course, nagbotohan sila at na-overturn niya na hindi talaga pwede na i-close na nila yung interpellation. So yun yung last-ditch effort nila. And then yesterday, actually during the session din, during his contra speech, actually yung contra speech ni Coco Pimentel lasted for almost 2 hours, kung saan sinabi niya dito na bakit hindi natin to kailangang ipasa. Kinwestiyon niya din doon yung pag-certify as urgent ni President Marcos because wala naman daw tayong crisis to begin with at hindi talaga nakikita yung pagkakaroon ng urgency para dito sa batas na ito. And of course, during doon sa contra speech niya, sinabi ni Pimentel na ipagpatuloy natin yung discussion pero i-move natin yung discussion na to dito sa Committee on Government Corporations instead of Committee on Banks. Kasi yun daw yung mas appropriate because yung end goal naman talaga is to create the MIC or yung Maharlika Investment Corporation, which is a GOCC, right? So ayun, and of course, hindi din siya nagwagi doon. Na-overturn ulit siya, hindi siya pinayagan, yung motion niya was rejected again. So sila lang dalawa ni Senator Risa Ontiveros yung nag-vote. So ayun, siguro ikikwento ko na rin yung nangyaring botohan no, dito. So yun nga, yung nangyaring botohan is 19-1-1. So 19 voted in favor, and then 1 no, and then 1 abstain. So nasan yung tatlo? Actually, kasi 24 yung composition ng Senate, di ba? So actually ito, nakakapagtaka. I mean, siguro sa mga outside din na mga viewers natin, nagtataka sila bakit of course, Coco Pimentel spent 2 hours dun sa contra speech niya. Siya din yung very vocal critic nitong ating Maharlika Bill. But absent siya.
He wasn't
He
there.
wasn't there. So actually, I was like, nasan si Senator Coco? Kasi siya yung parang sobrang nakikipaglaban dito sa Maharlika Bill na to. So absent siya, hindi siya nag-vote. And ito din, sobrang apparent na yung absence ni Presidential Sister Amy Marcos. So, ayun, during dito kasi sa mga sidelines nito mga committee hearings or sa mga press conference, whenever we ask, of course, Senator Amy Marcos kung ano yung position niya dito sa Maharlika Bill, which is priority legislation ng kanyang brother, si President Marcos, sinasabi niya na hindi dapat to kailangang madaliin. Diba? So, that's why siguro hindi na lang siya umattend to vote. And then, and aside from that, si Senator Cheese Escudero was also absent during the votation, so hindi siya nakapag-vote. And ang only na nag-no dito ay si Senator Risa Ontiveros, which is very consistent talaga siya all throughout.
Yeah, yung
Ito,
position
di ba, pagkapasa sa mga committee hearings, sa mga chances that she could talk about this Maharlika Bill, as in sobra yung pag-o-oppose niya dito, and up until the end, pinaglaban niya na hindi talaga siya okay dito. And of course, Senator Nancy Binay voted to abstain. Hindi siya nag-vote actually, nag-abstain siya. So hindi siya bumoto. Yun namang stance dito actually ni Nancy Binay. Parang hindi niya categorically sinasabi na ayaw niya dito sa bill, pero sinasabi niya lang na this is not the right timing for it. Marami tayong urgent concerns to address, and then at the same time, marami din tayong bagay na kailangan pambusisiin dito sa bill na to. So nag-abstain siya. And yeah, overwhelming na 19 votes yung nakuha ng ating nitong Maharlika Bill. So of course, kahapon nga 11 hours yung nangyaring period of amendment dito sa Maharlika Bill. Lance, kwentuhan mo kami, ano yung mga key amendments na napansin mo na crucial dito sa Maharlika Bill?
Sige, actually, ang dami nga. Sobrang dami. If you look at it, ang daming na-change. Yung na-mention ko earlier, I think yun yung pinaka-big, no? Yung about yung pension funds, na they are explicitly, ano yun? Yung exact phrase is absolutely prohibited.
Okay.
So, yun. Tapos yung sa BSP, which I mentioned earlier. Also, yung mga, I don't know if you've heard of it, no? Yung land bank sa DBP,
Okay.
parang may plano silang mag-merge, di ba?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yun yung isa sa issue. So, kasi both of them are contributing. So, what if nga nag-merge sila? Paano yung sa board? Kasi both of them have a seat, supposedly. So, yung ginawa nila is they made it so that if one of the GFIs, one of the government financial institutions, is merged, abolished, consolidated. So parang basta kung nawala yung isa, the one who will replace it is the other GFI who parang gets the rights. So
Okay.
kunwari, in this case, kung matuloy nga yung land bank DBP merger, yung seat ng DBP on the board will be given to the next parang highest ranking official ng land bank. So yun yung isang amendment. Another one, ito actually medyo interesting to, no? Yung, I think it was Senator Padilla who mentioned this. Yung all the documents ng Maharlika have to be given in both English and Filipino.
Yeah.
Oo. So I'm not sure, is that like a first ba sa Senate or may ganun na?
Yeah, I'm not really sure about that. Pero like parang ito din, glaring din talaga tong itong pinanukala pinropose ni Senator Padilla na gagawin niyang Tagalog version or Filipino version itong bill. And not only the bill, diba? Anything na related dito. So yung mga supporting documents, ito translate. So it will take them time.
Yeah.
Right?
Pero sabi din niya kasi, a lot of the people who are opposing yung bill, it's also because they don't understand the bill. And syempre, I mean, I understand. Sobrang technical niya, diba? Tapos if it's in English pa, if everything's in English, how do you understand it, diba?
Yeah, exactly.
So, ayun. Tapos yung isa pang amendment is about yung penalties naman.
Okay.
So, parang they did make it higher, but it's not really high. It's still very small. So, kunwari, if you're a member of the board, tapos it comes out na you're involved in an anomalous transaction, kung may anomaly, ganun, you have a penalty, pero yung penalty is just 5 to 10 million. So, medyo maliit lang yan if you're in terms of fraud, diba? O, saka perpetual disqualification from office. Ayun. But they did say naman na kahit maliit yan, parang you can still use other anti-graft laws that will also apply alongside that. So, ayun. Those are some of the amendments. Yung mga, naman, parang latest developments now after that.
Sige. So, since, yun nga, pinasa nila kanina earlier at 2:32 a.m. Actually, yung napansin din namin dito ng mga reporters covering the Senate is, nung ipapasa na nila yung batas, parang nagkaroon na kami ng hint dun eh. Before pa nila mag-vote na ipapasa na nila, sinabi na agad ni Senator Mig Zubiri na nakaset na agad yung bicameral conference at 11 a.m. So for context, itong bicameral conference kasi, this is the time where both chambers, the lower house or the House of Representatives and the upper chamber, which is the Senate, nagmi-meet sila para i-reconcile yung differences sa parehong version. So nakaset na pala talaga. So ibig sabihin, kahapon pa lang, when they started the session, talaga meron na silang agenda na ipapasa nila ito. So kaya tayo, nagpuyat tayo, diba? Naglamay tayo para dito. So yun. And then as we speak, actually, the Congress, yun nga, both Senate and the House are having their bicameral conference at the Manila Golf Club, golf course. So ngayon, pinag-uusapan nila, and then sources inside the Senate trends say that the House will adopt the Senate version. So this would mean hindi talaga nila gagalawin yung pension funds.
Oo.
Yun yung contentious na pinag-uusapan talaga dito eh. So yun. By 4 p.m. actually sabi nila ilalabas nila yung desisyon kung
So
ano
in a few
yung...
hours? Oo.
Yes, just a few hours. So yes, siguro last question to wrap up our discussion. Lance, what do you think this bill is so important?
Well, yun nga kasi this bill, no, it's not just about this administration. Parang yun yung concern din nila eh. It will
Right.
outlast this
Actually.
this administration. It's perpetual, diba?
Mm-mm.
So that's the most important thing that they have to look at. Yung how is it structured, how is it worded, kasi it will continue for a very long time. And another thing that was interesting, no, the bill, the way it's formulated, ganon, it's important, but also it's also important how you execute it. So
Right.
all these safeguards, ganon, it doesn't matter if it's not executed naman. Or yung safeguards about who sits on the board. What if the person who sits on the board in the first place, parang hindi naman siya qualified, or I don't know, corrupt siya. So it's also those things, not aside from the bill itself. But ikaw naman, what do you think about this?
Siguro yung sinasabi din nung sa mga outsiders, of course, yung mga experts natin, na yun nga, kahit siguro normal na tao, ito yung sinasabi nila na there are more urgent issues that the government needs to focus on. Like for example, yung isa ding issue ngayon when it comes to funds, yung military pension. 'Di ba? Kasi sobra yung laki na kinukuha nun sa budget natin. So yun yung kailangan din nilang pagtuunan ng pansin, pero hindi pa rin nagkakaroon ng resolution up until now. And siguro for context na rin, parang ang dami ng administration yung pinagdaanan nitong debate na to in military pension. And of course, aside from that, ang dami nating crisis na pinagdadaanan ngayon, di ba? Meron tayong education crisis, we're still recovering from the pandemic, and a lot more, di ba? Marami pa ring unemployed na tao, marami yung inflation natin, right? Prices are still rising, di ba? Of course, alam mo yan as someone covering the business. So, yun yung sa tingin ko kung bakit ito important. So, that's it for today's episode of Rappler Recap. Again, I'm Bonz Magsambol.
I'm Lance Spencer. Thank you for watching.